Hi, I'm Mattioli, and welcome to another reading of Boston Accent. Boston Accent is available on Amazon.com, and it contains mature subject matter. We're going to pick up where we left off. We're starting a new segment. There was a lot of confusion in the last segment because it was so lengthy that I had to pick up in the middle of it. If you don't follow along every day, it definitely gets confusing because I jump around. It's just the way it is. A lot of different stories. Okay, here we go. One afternoon, I was out riding around with Seth when he decides to stop at a place that rents skis in the winter and kayaks in the summer. The kayaks are inflatable, and the top of them is completely open, unlike a fiberglass kayak that is a single hole for the operator. Technically, you could fit two adults in a kayak, but Seth wanted us both to have our own, so he bought one and rented a second. I had minimal experience with a canoe and no experience with a kayak, but these kayaks were more like a canoe. Seth, on the other hand, had worked one summer as a guide for a whitewater rafting company. He had guided 12-man rafts down the Stanislaw River in California, and that's where he wanted us to go the next day we had off together. That day was the following weekend, and we drove down at night, drinking and smoking all the way down. We had sleeping bags and slept under the stars, a short walk to the river. I had been really buzzed when we arrived at the river the night before, so when I woke and heard the sound of rushing water, I was more than a little concerned. I got up and walked towards the sound of the river until it came into view. It was much more than I expected, and I was horrified. It was spring, and the water was running high due to the snowmelt. This was the most dangerous time to raft with the water running high and fast. The point where Seth wants us to put in is a slow part of the river that turns fast, just 50 feet down, as you travel over a small waterfall and then negotiate around rocks. I will have less than 30 seconds to get acclimated to my surroundings. As I stood there with my mouth agape, asking myself, what have I done this time? Seth comes up behind me, all smiles, and says, well, what do you think? I looked at him, not sharing his delight, and said, I don't think I can do this. The smile left his face, and he said, what do you mean? And I said, I've never negotiated anything this fast. Seth, showing irritation, said, you told me you had. I said, bullshit. I never told you that. Seth says, what do you want to do? And I tell him, I don't know. Seth decides to build up my confidence, and he starts into giving me an advanced whitewater 101 course on the riverbank. He tells me the most important thing is reading the river. Proper identification of what lies in front of you is followed by proper navigation through the rapids and around the rocks. The next most important thing to know is if you get thrown into the water, you need to keep one hand on your kayak and the other hand on your paddle at all times. That sounds relatively impossible, I'm thinking to myself as Seth continues. Lastly, while holding onto your paddle and kayak, you must sit in the water with your feet up in the air to avoid having your legs smashed against the rocks. The rapids will move you down the river. You just have to ride it out. The river will eventually run calm, and you can pull yourself up on the bank to catch your breath and then start again. That's the way the river runs, rapid, calm, from start to finish. Seth went on to say that he would go first, and all I had to do was follow his lead. Seemed easy enough, so I told him I was in. Now Seth had to drive the car downstream and find someone to give him a ride back. Seth ended up driving 10 miles down, which was a common run for the regulars that ran the river. He was gone for about 45 minutes, and while he was gone, I drank. I felt better from Seth's pep talk, but not great, and I needed liquid courage. I had downed 4 beers for breakfast by the time I entered the water. Did I mention we had no helmets or life jackets? Minor details when whitewater rafting, I was sure. Seth climbs into his kayak and maneuvers through the first rapid, making it look easy. I gave him a good 30-foot head start to observe what he does, and then I follow. Un momento, I gotta get a little. Oh, that's better. It's better. It's early. I soon find out that watching and doing are two different things as I fight the strong current that tries to force me to go in directions I don't want to. If you don't have strong upper body strength, the river will win. I am not in the rapids more than 10 seconds before the strong current spins my kayak around backwards and drives me up on a large boulder where I flip over. Sensing my impending doom, I keep my head and hang onto my paddle with one hand and grab the rope on the side of the kayak as I hit the water. The water is freezing cold. If my senses were dull from the beers, they are dull no more. I remember to lift my legs as the current pushes me downriver with incredible power. I look ahead to see Seth is in a calm section and turn around watching me with concern on his face. I ride up the rapid, and when I reach the calm, I pull myself to shore to catch my breath. Seth asks if I'm okay, and I check my legs for scrapes, but have none. My breathing lasts no more than a minute as Seth is impatient and wants to continue. Having gotten the worst scenario out of the way, I am ready to continue with more confidence than I started with. I make it through the next 3 rapids without capsizing, but the 4th is a nightmare that puts Seth and me both in the water. As I get thrown from the kayak, the current spins me around facing backward, and I see a 12-man guided raft behind me with its occupants looking down on me in horror. I manage to spin around facing downriver without my legs getting smashed and ride up the rapids till I reach the calm. I drag myself up on the bank where Seth has already dragged himself and is getting ready to get back in the water. I take a couple of deep breaths and allow the sun to warm up my frigid body when I hear a woman's voice call out, "Do you have life jackets?" I turn to see the 12-man raft has stopped on the opposite bank and their guide is the one asking. "No," I tell her, and she answers right back, "Are you stupid?" I know you've heard that before. I know you've heard that before in this book. It's a common theme. It's not my fault. I ignore her, and she asks again, "Do you have helmets?" "No," I answer again. The guide is shaking her head and muttering under her breath, but I can't make out what she's saying over the roar of the river. She then yells over, "I don't have extra helmets, but I have life jackets if you want one." Without hesitating, I tell her, "Yes, I'd love one." I have always been a strong swimmer, and as a kid you couldn't get me out of the water. But I understand that won't mean a damn thing if I hit my head on a rock and lose consciousness. The guide tells me to stay put as she maneuvers her raft over to us. As she gets close, she tosses the vest to me and tells me I can return it at the end where we all get out. She then asks Seth if he wants a vest, and he tells her he's all set. Seth sees the jacket as a sign of weakness that his ego wants nothing to do with. The guide decides not to argue with Seth, and she pushes off and heads downriver. Seth and I are in the river behind her, but lose sight of her quickly as her raft barrels through every rapid with no problem. I, on the other hand, flip over 2 more times while Seth flips over once more. We both survived to tell the tale, and I can honestly say it was an amazing experience. It was a real life-and-death situation that left me feeling more alive than I had been in a long time. Squizzy. Okay. 5 minutes here. How long is this next section? Let's see. Oh, this next section is big. So we're going to stop it here. I know that was a short 10-minute read, but this next one is big. It's big. Huge. All right. That's it for today. We'll pick up again tomorrow, God willing. I got a busy day tomorrow, so it might be an evening read. So if you don't see me right away in the morning, hang in there, because I got some stuff going on. Looks like this guy might be going back into the real world workforce. Yeah, don't tell anybody. It's not a done deal yet, but it's looking that way. Okay. I'm Mark Mattioli, and we're reading Boston Accent, and Boston Accent is available on Amazon.com. Ciao.